Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Jamunatira Vanasari Jamunatira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Jamunatira Vanasari Jamunatira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Radhe, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Pimanandi. Jai Visupada Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Shilavoy Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Biti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Janitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to see Guru and to see Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Veshabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Granthara, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Sri Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and now all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda,
Sri Advaita
Shri
Gadadhara
Advaita Gadadhara,
Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare
Rama
Hare
Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Sarabhyaya
Om
Namaha
Sarvadhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Sarvadhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya
Om
Namaha
Sarvadhyaya Namaha.
Mukam karoti vachalam pangom langayate girim yatkripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. Continuing from Canto 1, Chapter 18, Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. I believe text, yes, 7. Viprakirna Jatachanam
Yatachanam
Roravena Jinena
Rauravena Jinena
Cha Vishusyat
Vishusyat
Talur
Talur
Udakam
Udakam
Tatha
Tatha
Bhutam
Bhutam
Ayachata
Ayataka
Viprakirna Jataschannam
Viprakirna Jatachannam
Roravena Jinena Cha
Rauravena Jinena Cha
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Viprakirna Jataschannam
Viprakirna Jatachannam
Roravena Jinena Cha
Rauravena Jinena Cha
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Viprakirna Jata Channam
Viprakirna Jatachannam
Roravena Jinena Cha
Rauravena Jinena Cha
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata Viprakirna Jatachannam
Viprakirna Jata Channam
Rauravena Jinena Cha
Roravena Jinena Cha
Vishushyatalurudakam
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Tatha Bhutamayachata
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Viprakirna Jatachannam
Viprakirna Jata Channam
Rauravena Jinena Cha
Roravena Jinena Cha
Vishushyatalurudakam
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Tatha Bhutamayachata
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Viprakirna Jatachannam
Viprakirna Jata Channam
Rauravena Jinana Cha
Roravena Jinena Cha
Vishushyatalur Udakam
Vishusyat Talur Udakam
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
Tatha Bhutam Ayachata
विप्रकीर्ण जटाच्छन्नं
Viprakirna tatachanam
गौरवेणि गौरवेण जिनेन च
Dhauravena jinena cha
विशिष्यत्तालुरोदकं
Vishushyattalurudakam
तथा भूतम् अयाचत
Tatha bhutam maya chata Viprakirna
विप्रकीर्ण
all scattered
all scattered,
Jata aschannam
जटाच्छन्नं
covered with compressed
covered with compressed
long hair
long hair,
Roravena
गौरवेण
by the skin of a stag
by the skin of a stag,
Ajinena
जिनेन
by the skin
by the skin,
Cha
cha,
also
also,
Vishushyat
विशिष्यत्
dried up
dried up,
Taluhu
talu,
palate
palate,
Udakam
udakam,
water
water,
Tatha bhutam
तथा भूतम्
in that state
in that state,
Ayachata
ayatata,
ask for
ask for,
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. Kindly repeat after me. The sage in meditation, the sage in meditation
the sage in meditation
was covered by the skin of a stag,
was covered by the skin of a stag,
and long compressed hair
and long compressed hair
was scattered all over him.
was scattered all over him.
The king, whose palate was dry from thirst,
The king whose palate was dry from thirst
asked him for water.
asked him for water.
Purport. The king, being thirsty, asked the sage for water. That such a great devotee and king asked for water from a sage absorbed in trance was certainly providential. Otherwise, there was no chance of such a unique happening. Maharaj Parikshit was thus placed in an awkward position so that gradually Srimad Bhagavatam could be revealed. Translation again. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. So I believe the description is that this Muni or sage is within his hermitage, no? He's inside his hermitage. And somehow Parikshit Maharaj is feeling, I think earlier was describing he was looking for water, looking for a pond, I think, reservoir water, couldn't find one, so he happened to enter this particular hermitage where this sage was seemingly in deep meditation. Prabhupada is making the point, which later on I'm sure will be elaborated upon, how the whole scene, the king, generally kings travel with an entourage. and they have people, getting water or whatever the necessities of a king. Of course, there's no mention here of an entourage. Um, and Prabhupada does mention that it was um, it was providential. What is the meaning of providential? It means, well, it comes from the word providence. Providence means, what's another word for
Something that's destined.
destiny? Destiny means higher arrangement, unusual. Yeah. uh, yeah, and Prabhupada mentions otherwise there was no chance of such a unique happening, uh, and that it was kind of an awkward situation. So I think we should just continue reading.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
You can correct me if my understanding is right or wrong.
Yes.
It seems, Prabhupada, when he's saying that it is providential or very awkward or unusual for a king and a devotee to ask for water, does it imply that a Kshatriya would not beg or ask for anything, even including water? And the devotee aspect, meaning that, a very high level of devotees so situated is not affected by dualities of hunger and thirst. There's another reason there's no need for such a devotee to seek
Yeah.
water. Is that
Means it adds to the uniqueness of his asking for water.
both being a king, Kshatriya not asking for
No.
anything including water, and
Yeah,
devotee
and
being
being a
situated
devotee.
at a higher platform,
Yes.
being freed from duality.
Why a king or Kshatriya cannot ask for a water?
Though his dignity to beg or ask for anything.
I don't think that proves. Can you prove by Shastra?
See, I remember reading something. I'll find a quote.
Because why not? Kings have many servants, they can ask.
It is giving an order. It's different from giving an order versus asking.
He's asking.
Yeah, he's begging for the water. Yeah, this one is not. He's not ordering. He's not ordering a rishi. No, sorry.
That's a polite thing.
What is it?
That's polite for a person who is.
Yeah, but not Kshatriya. Kshatriya mentality is very different. In the 7th canto, Narad Muni describes Brahmana asks for charity and gives charity. Kshatriya only gives charity. He never asks for charity. That's described in the 7th canto. Narad Muni describes the Varnashram duties. It clearly states that Kshatriya never asks for charity. Gives charity.
Yeah, but considering a cup of water like a charity is good.
But Kshatriyas are Kshatriyas, that's the thing, right? They are a different species. Kshatriya, for honor for them is, that's how,
Yeah. But normally, that's why I was mentioning the point about entourage. Normally, a king,
that's why you will have an answer.
King is surrounded by many servants generally, and they're going to be having an umbrella. They're going to be having water pot. They're going to be at his disposal practically anytime. It's unusual. Maybe that's part of the unusual situation. Generally, a king is not alone. Prabhupada makes that point so often, especially I suppose when he goes hunting, unless it was something very well. I guess it was something very special, and that's how Bhagavatam was brought about. But yeah, we don't have. I don't think additional details are given. But normally, a king will have servants who will look after his material comfort and his basic material needs and whatnot. But here it seems that nobody was there. Otherwise, normally a king doesn't go. He'll send somebody. Yeah. Get me some water. Whatever. So it was unusual. Okay, the story is gradually unfolding once upon a time. So we'll go to text 28.
About the providential question, that I remember that there is a story of Indra Maharaj. He have a Brahmana minister or servant, I don't know. Brahmana is not servant, but who was searching for Nilamadava. And then he went to a village for who was a pig keeper or some low class people, and he was very thirsty also. And he was very thirsty, and he was asking one um, cultured lady to give water, but the lady told, "I cannot give you water because I'm a low class person. You cannot accept for me water." But the Brahmana told, "No, no, no, I accept because you are very pure. I see." So that was the providential, because they have to be married.
Yeah, Sabara.
Yeah, the Sabara.
So what's the point you were trying to
I
convey?
mean, that's also providential, that in the consciousness of a high class Brahmana, you just accept something which is not according to the Vedic standard for him. I remember another story when there was a twin Brahmana sages, and the king asked one of them to give a putra yogya, and he told, "I'm not doing such a low class uh, yagyas, but I ask my brother, he may accept." And then he asked, "Why you think that your brother may accept?" Because I saw he was picking up some fruit from the
Ground.
from the earth, and he didn't consider it, maybe it's already contaminated. So if he's in his consciousness, then maybe he agrees to do this low class yoga for you. So there are different type of brahmanas, and that maybe different type of kshatriyas also, who have different standard of purity and accept things or something like that. So, but when Krishna is influencing someone, then they act not according to their standard level. But we still have to consider that generally that person is not behaving like that. So we have to understand that there is a very famous story when the Vaikuntha Basis, the giant Vijay, become angry. But on the spiritual world, there is no angriness. So we understand that there is some influence from the Lord Yogamaya to make them behave such a way that the consequences is that they are cursed and they'll go to the material world and they have nice service for 3 lifetimes. So I think that providential interface is a very, very important part of Lord pastime.
Yeah.
And we don't have to judge according to our rules and
No,
understanding.
it's not according to that. We're just trying to understand what Prabhupada is saying, that it's unusual for a king and a devotee. So he's trying to make a point here. We're just trying to understand what that means. Why is it unusual for a devotee and a king to ask for water?
But at the same time, yeah, Prabhupada mentions that, but he does refer to providence in this case, in terms of because it is especially unusual, it was uh, arranged by providence. Prabhupada mentions in the purport, so that eventually the Bhagavatam could be spoken, isn't it? Anyways, sometimes we get too much into subtleties, and we'll miss our next purport if we become too subtle on the matter of providence. I mean, providence means Krishna creates situations at times that usually don't happen, and some particular outcome. I mean, generally for some particular outcome. Arjuna was also put in temporary kind of illusion, so to speak, so that Bhagavad Gita should be spoken. Let's see here, text 28. Alabdha trina bhumyadir
अलब्धात्रेण भूम्यादेः
सम्प्रप्तार्घ्य सुनृतः
असम्प्राप्तार्घसंहृतः
अवज्ञातं मैवत्मानम्
अवज्ञातं विवात्मानं
मन्यमानश्चुकोपः.
मन्यमानश्चोपः
Translation and purport. The king, not received by any formal welcome by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so thinking, he became angry. Purport. The law of reception in the codes of the Vedic principles states that even if an enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respects. He should not be given a chance to understand that he has come into the house of an enemy. When Lord Krishna, accompanied by Arjuna and Bhima, approached Jarasandha in Magadha, the respectful enemies were given a royal reception by King Jarasandha. The guest enemy, namely Bhima, was to fight with Jarasandha, and yet they were given a grand reception. At night, they used to sit down together as friends and guests, and in the day, they used to fight, risking life and death. That was the law of reception. The reception law enjoins that a poor man who has nothing to offer his guest should be good enough to offer a straw mat for sitting, a glass of water for drinking, and some sweet words. Therefore, to receive a guest, either friend or foe, there is no expense. It is only a question of good manners. When Maharaj Parikshit entered the door of Shamika Rishi, he did not expect a royal reception by the Rishi because he knew that saints and rishis are not materially rich men. But he never expected that a seat of straw, a glass of water, and some sweet words would be denied to him. He was not an ordinary guest, nor was he an enemy of the Rishi, and therefore the cold reception by the Rishi astonished the king greatly. As a matter of fact, the king was right to get angry with the Rishi when he needed a glass of water very badly. To become angry in such a grave situation was not unnatural for the king, but because the king himself was not less than a great saint, his become angry and taking action was astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so ordained by the supreme will of the Lord. The king was a great devotee of the Lord, and the saint was also as good as the king. But by the will of the Lord, the circumstances were so created that they became ways to the king's becoming unattached to family connection and governmental activities, and thus becoming a completely surrendered soul unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The merciful Lord sometimes creates such awkward positions for his pure devotee in order to drag them towards himself from the mirror of material existence. But outwardly, is the mirror or the mire? Mirror. Is good in English. M-I-R-E.
Meyer.
Mire or mirror?
Meyer.
One of the two. But outwardly, the situation the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotees. The devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord, and in any condition, frustration or success, the Lord is the supreme guide for the devotees. The pure devotees therefore accept all conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord.
Mire comes also in the word quagmire, which is like a tricky, swampy land. Quagmire. The dictionary meaning of mire also refers to the same thing. Stretch of swampy or boggy land. There's another word quagmire. Daldal.
What is it?
The quicksand.
Oh,
Another
yes.
word for quicksand is quagmire, and has same spelling, Quagmire.
Mire. Okay. Mire. So we are getting, a bit more, Prabhupada elaborating a little bit more. But ultimately, as Prabhupada reiterates, it was uh, it was by the arrangement. We have to understand it as it was this unusual or awkward situation was arranged by the Lord for, well, we know for what purpose. So that the king, as he did actually, uh, as the story will unfold, when as soon as he hears of the curse by the Brahmana boy, then he decides to immediately, which is something very difficult for ordinary people, what to speak of those who are in such high positions as the king, to give up everything, isn't it? To suddenly, we were reading about that a few days ago. An advanced devotee is someone who can, who should be ready, uh, and who is ready. She's actually an advanced devotee to suddenly and unexpectedly just give up everything, including his body, which is usually the most difficult thing to give up. So it's like, in one sense, if such an exalted personality as Parikshit Maharaj, as he demonstrated, can give up, is so detached, then how he became so attached in one sense. So so we have to bring in and primarily understand the the awkwardness created there by the Lord for some purpose of ultimately, So at the end of the purport, Prabhupada mentions how generally those who are pure devotees, that's the sign of a pure devotee, uh, accept conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. There's a completely different mentality from ordinary people. Ordinary people, whenever there are frustrating situations or challenges or problems, they they generally start cursing the Lord, or cursing somebody who they see as being the agent for bringing that problem. Whereas, yeah, In other words, the mentality of a devotee. What's that example? There are many, I'm sure. One time, Prabhupada giving the example of another king who was uh, who was having I guess, a minister or someone advising him, as normally kings do have, and whatever would happen, he would always explain that this is the mercy of the Lord. You know that story? The finger.
Oh yes, yes, that's true. Yeah. Finger cut.
Right. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I mean, because um, there are so many unknown factors, uh, even to the pure devotee, that that only the Lord knows, and therefore he arranges or he creates situations for reasons and purposes that are generally unknown to most of us. So therefore, it is much better to develop this type of mentality, or to have this kind of understanding that whatever is arranged, there's well, devotees consider them, as Prabhupada explains here, as blessings of the Lord. Even so-called great calamities, I mean, is like what happened to Vidura, for example, who was a very, exalted person, always giving good advice, which of course was not always appreciated by especially Duryodhan. Yeah, uh, and then he, as we know, finally it came to a point where he was kicked out of the palace, and but he, being an advanced devotee, he took it as a blessing of the Lord, because it enabled him to just walk out of the general intrigues that are there in palaces or in any kind of administration, and was able to just go from one holy place to another for many years, and then uh, came came back, of course, at the end, as we know, and gave very strong advice to Dhritarashtra to leave home. So this is the kind of this is only possible for a devotee to actually think in that way, uh, because a devotee understands that there's uh, so many activities that I have been involved with in previous lives also, for which results are happening now that I just cannot understand why it's happening. But everything, this is the understanding of a devotee, of someone who knows about Shastra, that nothing happens without a particular reason or purpose. And therefore one develops this kind of mood or mentality, and it's much easier to deal with life situations. Yes.
So I think that this situation could help us to understand how important in a society of devotees to always respect other devotees, whoever the devotees, whatever they are doing. They may seemingly acting not properly, but still we have to keep in mind that they are already devotees. Otherwise, we start to criticize them. And I know that there are some different circumstances which you already mentioned, that in living in the village, living in farm from this influencing anti-culture, means this consuming culture, when everything is presented, not considered how pure is it, how what is the source, water, food, everything. They are influencing our consciousness if we regularly eat this kind of thing. We have to. So that's very important for devotee who want to become more and more peaceful, to go to these kind of situations, at least when they are retired, at least when there's not very important to maintain big family or something like that. If a little renouncement helps them to retire from these city situations, or these all these influencing those things like computers and phones, that's much easier for them to have this moranam or pure consciousness to keep. So here I found it that one class of Lokanath Maharaj, when he mentioned that is oral tradition, that Kali entered to the gold of the king's crown, and that crown was um, taken from Jarasandha earlier, like Bhima, when he killed Jarasandha, he collected some golden.
Bhuti.
Yeah, they have the right for that, and then that golden crown remained there, and on that specific day, Parikshit was wearing that thing, that crown, which was coming from Jarasandha. Jarasandha's consciousness was already affecting that, and then Kali also used that opportunity that he can be in anywhere where his gold is. So he was all the day, he was just speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, and then slowly, Maharaj consciousness become a little bit disturbed. So that's we have to be very careful that how we behave when we are in devotion society. That don't make any criticize anyone. It's very not easy, but preventing that, maybe this kind of lifestyle is much better. You mentioned that someone living alone or living in two in a room, it could be different, because long time when you are living in one someone else, maybe you tolerate the person's different nature and behave, but it will influence you. So conscious devotee choosing the most pure partner when they are living in one room very close. So that's, we can consider that if we want to go to higher standard of devotional life, then we also these little subtle things we have to consider. Where we get food, mostly like that. So that's why I remember from different classes.
Yeah.
And the big issue of ahimsa milk or not ahimsa milk. And also know the ahimsa mridanga came out these issues, that how we consider, how we decide. We decide we will utilize it like Yukta Vairagya, or we are finding a more pure source for having some.
I think everyone will agree that we're living in a very, um, you know, contaminated atmosphere, and practically uh, uh, practically everything is impure. At the same time, we have the mandate of purifying things and gradually introducing some standards. So uh, definitely that needs to be done. We could say tactfully. Uh, it's a major challenge in many ways for us as devotees, um, because the world as we know it, as we see it today, is rampant with adharma, and yet our primary responsibility is to establish dharma, and we, to a large extent, we need to do that amongst ourselves, isn't it? We have to show by example. Like we have one devotee within our society, like this mridanga. You know what this mridanga is called?
Madhur.
Yeah, Madhur Mridanga, because it's completely ahimsa. Yes.
It's a great, what do you call, initiative. So
Yes.
it's not a criticism, but it's in the right direction, but it's still a long way to go because over here also there's ahimsa milks that are available. But every time I see it in a plastic bottle.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
still more work needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one again, we can be sure that it's not leather, but then plastic
Is
means himsa.
correct. Yes. Yes. The perfection will be there when we go to Vaikuntha.
Yes.
Meantime, we are making endeavors and steps towards that. But yeah, um, it's a very big challenge, definitely. Um, but we have to be simultaneously, yeah, tolerant and cautious to avoid criticism. But then it does remain the responsibility of certain individuals to, for example, if somebody is a temple president or in charge of some particular department, to establish and to uphold certain standards. Uh, I mean, a few years ago there was a GBC resolution to encouraged and recommending actually that all the temples, at least for the deities, we offer ahimsa milk. You know, but we're so far removed from, I mean, the whole concept of ahimsa is not, as you rightly pointed, it's not only in milk. I mean, the clothes. I mean, everything practically. The homes that we build. Um,
Very toxic.
yes.
Whole home is chemicals,
Yes.
paint.
Yeah. I mean, the whole proper, as he would say, the whole Western edition of modern civilization is like off, totally corrupted in so many ways. Hare Krishna. Is it really? My God. One of our old. He's not so old, but yeah. Sri Haridas Thakur Das Ki Jai. Okay, Krishna Balaram will be happy to. From which garden did you take this?
Yeah, here only, Maharaj, just near the.
With permission, huh?
Yes, Sri Murari Gupta opposite there.
No, it's okay.
There are
Yeah,
fields.
You can just approach. Somebody should be behind the curtains. They'll be happy to, not every day. This is tulip, is it?
Water lilies.
Water lily. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you can put it on Prabhupada's table or Hare Krishna. Okay. Your record will be attending Bhagavatam class. Tail end of Bhagavatam class. um, so, in other words, it's not only sufficient for us who are meant to uphold the principles of Dharma, it's not sufficient for us to know about these principles of Dharma, but as challenging is like how to apply or introduce, according to Kaladesha Patra, these different principles of Dharma. What what we may tell someone who's a devotee already living in the temple, as opposed to someone who's visiting a temple for the first time, will generally be different, because the level of understanding or level of acceptance, of course, some basic things are there. I'm sorry, but you can't bring your cigarette in the temple or whatever. That's why, yeah, the level of a level of understanding will and how to apply certain maybe principles will more easily be done based on the level of purity of consciousness um, of individuals. The more purified we are in consciousness, then more easy it is to deal with different situations. But even in very high levels, like, you know, Parikshit Maharaj was in a very elevated consciousness, but still such such awkward situations sometimes occur. Any additional thoughts or comments on this?
One important point was made here where, what is considered, like the story that you were saying, somebody, that particular minister got his finger cut, or that individual.
King caught.
Yeah,
And minister said, "This is all God's will."
right. And then there was this, the dacoits were planning a human sacrifice, and because he had cut, he could not be offered.
Yeah, right.
So it seems like what's good and bad is very situational context. And that's why I think in Chaitanya Charitamrita there's this verse which says, Dvaite Bhadra Bhadra Gyan Shobha Mano Dharmo Ei Bhalo Ei Mando Ei Shobha Brahmo. So what it's simply a mental concoction.
Good and bad.
Good and bad, the dualities. That's an absolute reality that is true. But at the same time, when we are functioning over here, there's some etiquette and decorum which establishes what is acceptable, what's not. So maybe it seems like we apply that decorum to us, but for judging others, we don't make distinction of good and bad unless we have an authority to correct that person, right? Is that how best way to navigate this? Because both, both are, we have to act at two levels of reality.
Yes. Well, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about pravritim cha nivritim cha. Pravritim cha nivritim cha janana vidur asura. If we need to know what is to be done, what is not to be done, right? But at the same time, there is that kind of in the context of for devotees, then that differentiation at times is will be different from the ordinary mundane way of differentiating. Examples, when Krishna he ordered Yudhishthira Maharaj to tell a lie.
Yes.
Right. So he hesitated, but then because it was that's it's not that we're promoting or advertising that we should be lying, but one needs to consider situations on their merit, like in the whole. There were a number of similar, incidents. I mean, Krishna also ordered Arjuna to kill Karna when he was not in a fighting position. He was trying to lift up his broken chariot wheel. And so how to understand? So, I mean, Krishna, of course, was dealing, not only Krishna himself, but the Pandavas were dealing with individuals who were not respecting the principles of dharma. So,
Did for that.
well, yeah, it's like when you're dealing with somebody who's not following dharma, you're not obligated to follow dharma. I mean, completely. But it's a little bit delicate, and it's not in any way to advertise or promote the acceptance of adharma.
That was a very important situation when Srila Prabhupada was present. He was a person whom anyone can come and ask his vision, his decision, what to do in different situations. But when Prabhupada left the world, then great devotees had really big anxiety how to solve different situations when they had to decide somehow, but they didn't agree. And that's natural that two persons not necessarily agree. But then who will decide and how to follow? And that's have a great crisis in ISKCON, which was natural crisis for a long time until somehow it's settled down and everywhere there are some authorities. Maybe they are not perfect, but still authorities is there and we should follow, and then maybe there are some other channels when we can put our anxiety to the proper way. So you can say something about this when there is not present in a very um, directly highly elevated person, then others have difficulties.
Yes. Well, the general uh, policy, as it is advised in the Vedic literatures, is to to base our understanding, or to base our decisions on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra to the best of our ability, and balance. If the more things are in line with or aligned, aligned with what what sadhus uh, and Shastra and Guru is telling, then better chances it will come out better.
Maharaj, I just recalled a pastime which illustrates the point that I was trying to make, how to balance between what is proper etiquette, making the distinction at the same time, not judging or considering what's good and bad. So Maharaj Ambarish, when Durvasha Muni came, and he went to take a bath and he was delayed, see, he was considering what is proper, what is not proper. Right? Should I break the fast? Should I not break the fast? How should I break the fast? So he did consider what's proper and proper. But then when Durvasha Muni got angry and then he cursed him, he did not consider, he take it as an offense. So when it seems like a devotee, when they are subjected to situations, they don't make that distinction of good and bad, or they don't judge others. But when they themselves have to behave, they do consider what's proper and what's not proper, right? And that's how it seems one has to navigate across the spectrum, two levels,
Yes.
making distinction at the same time not making distinction.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that is there also when we when someone offends ourselves or us, as opposed to if somebody offends a devotee, then the reaction will be different. Yeah. That a devotee understands there's so many unknown factors at play, and therefore will be very tolerant and will not begrudging um, an individual who might be offending him uh, in whatever way it may be, but he will react differently uh, when devotees are offended or when the deities are offended or whatever. Yeah.
There is a living situation when in Hungary, for example, there is a nice community of devotees who are missionaries. They have a vow. They don't have any bad under their own control. They give everything. They have no bank account, and they are the community gives everyone whatever they need, but on the level of their ability, not more. But there are other devotees living nearby in the village, and they have different lifestyle. And when there is an Ishtagoshti, what to do, what not to do, they come together. And when they give their opinion, there's very strong difference between the persons who is living every day in this consciousness. I'm dependent of the community leader, whatever I ask. Big house, small house, I don't consider it important. But devotees living outside and living on their own,
Different consciousness.
they have different opinion. And that's very difficult for the leaders to deal with these different opinions because they are naturally striking the different. And some devotees says it's impossible to maintain this kind of missionary community. It's impossible. They're just waiting when they collapse. Also, they started like that, but it's not impossible. But has different consciousness. So for leaders, more. I offer my objections. It's so difficult for them to deal with the different type of consciousness devotees when they have in the same place and they have different opinions and leaders somehow have to
Can't keep everyone happy at all times.
yeah
That's an interesting point, but maybe time is, yeah.
that's also
They
interesting
have a
point.
very unique situation, actually. I visited actually their community. They have two communities. There are two communities.
Yeah,
One is what we know as Krishna Valley, where it's like devotees, I don't know, how many acres or hectares of land? 300 hectares.
600.
Yeah, 600 acres, whatever. It's quite big. And and then they're part of like a larger village. I mean, the devotee community is a kind of community by themselves. And then and there's maybe uh, close to 200 devotees, I think.
Yeah, the inside is 150 and outside maybe 300.
Okay, so so within Krishna Valley, the community devotees. So there's that uh, number of devotees, and it's all in many ways it's run like a Maha temple in one
Yeah,
sense,
it's a big temple.
and then there's in the village, in the greater village, then there's even more devotees who are living who are not under the village per se. They're
Right.
working and
But they are
whatnot.
working in the community for some support, like they are
Okay,
teachers, they are leaders
okay,
also.
right. Some of them are working outside also, I
Sometimes
think.
working out, but some working for the
For the yeah.
for the
So
hall,
yeah,
for the
so
temple.
so he's referring to that the way of thinking within these two sets of communities is different. Um, but the question for me does, I'm sure, is one of the questions that is being raised also, that what is meant to be the ideal in terms of the norm or model, for the future. Anyways, for another
Big issue.
class. For another class, yeah. Okay. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanandi
Bhakti Ravata Maharaj ki jai.